Web Summit Vancouver Day 2.
Yeah.
You just heard from Gabor Mate and Hassan Piker. Tough panel to follow, but we'll do our best. Who wants to hear about agents?
Woo.
Woo! Okay, who wants to hear about agents doing work for us? Are a little scared, a little excited? Yeah? Okay. So today the panel, is titled When Software Becomes a User, but effectively we're talking about agents. You're going to hear about three things. The first is trust and agents. How do you balance that cocktail and make sure that you can actually trust the agents? Number two, what about timelines? How long does it take to adopt and actually deploy agents, but securely? And number three, how will agents impact the future of work? But that's enough for me. Let's hear from our panelists. Please introduce yourselves, keep it short, and tell us what you do.
For sure. Thanks, Emil. So I'm Wen, co-founder and COO at Genspark. We are a Palo Alto-based technology company. We build AI agents for the 1 billion plus global knowledge workers. Our view is that human beings deserve a lot more freedom, and we can all get out of the busy work and being strategic and creative with the help of agentic AI. We grew from 0 to $250 million ARR in about 12 months. And in the past 20 months, we raised about $545 million. Yeah, that's kind of.
Wow, that was compacted. Okay, so give it a whirl. I'm Nancy Wang. I'm the CTO at 1Password. We have been around for 20 years, and we're the most trusted source of identities for humans, machines, and agents. And we also provide them with trusted access. We are super fortunate to be, counting millions of consumer users and almost 200,000 business users. And what we're really excited today to solve is, as models get more powerful, the next level of intelligence is going to be around identity and authorization.
Perfect. Okay, so let's talk about trust. Nancy, let's start with you. How do you help, when you talk to leaders of other companies, or even when the leaders at your company, how do you convince leaders and talk through the discussions of handing over company data to the agents? How do you get that trust there? And then on the flip side, how do you get employees to trust agents enough so they can actually use them effectively?
Yeah, so what I think is actually kind of hilarious is in the last 12 months, right, security teams have gone from let's block ChatGPT, you can't use any LLMs, to now, hey, here's godlike admin privileges, let's just, run wild, right? And yeah. I feel like we're missing that adult in the room, that middle approach, which is, all right, how do we give just enough access to your agents so they're productive? And that's really the conversation I see all of the CIOs as well as CISOs in my network having, which is, well, we want to unleash these agents because they 10x our developers, our knowledge workers' productivity, which I'm sure you're going to talk about for Genspark. But at the same time, how do we prevent being on a headline? Because we don't want to be the focus of a breach because we gave our agents so much access.
What do you think, Wen?
I think what Nancy said makes perfect sense. At the same time, if we take a step back, how do human beings build trust? We build trusts over the thick and thin we go through together, right? So to that, the most fundamental thing is, I'd say human beings are actually pretty smart. We can tell, pretty quickly, pretty easily, am I burning tokens, wasting my time, and not getting what I want, teaching AI but not getting what I want, or it's like one prompt, the job is done, the output quality is high. So I think that's the start point. If you can see that AI is actually producing high quality work for you, that is a start point of building trust. And beyond that, all the security measures, compliance frameworks that you have to put in place to enable, I'd say, organizational adoption, that's a step two, which is absolutely extremely important. But yeah, I mean, you got to start with AI that actually works for you instead of just wasting your time and money.
Yes. I like that, actually. What you mentioned, making your agents more capable. Well, I feel like that's why we're on stage together. You make agents more capable, and I make sure they don't turn into employees for North Korea. Right?
Exactly.
So actually, how do we balance that need to keep agents in line and secure and within guardrails, with also the willingness to experiment and make mistakes? How have you seen that push and pull at your companies?
Yeah, I mean, happy to start, and I'd love to hear from your as well, which is, I feel like people always think that governance, the good governance and productivity are at odds, right? They're friction points. But I actually say that if you have bad governance, well, then you're in, 6 months of different reviews and trauma, frankly. And so this is where understanding, what is the right level of access, right? How do we think about, things that aren't new in the security world, like no standing, privileges, right? No long-lived credentials, and how do we apply that to agents so they can be productive, but we stay out of the headlines?
Yeah. So our experience is really literally this, that we launched our product initially just for individuals. This was last April. And by summer timeframe, a lot of corporations started reaching out, saying that their employees used our product and they wanted a business solution. At the time, we didn't have it. We're like, what do you mean? You can just swipe the card. They were like, no, we need centralized billing, SSO, enhanced security, role-based provisioning, all of these good stuff. SOC 2 Type 2, how about that? That is when we went into the effort to really build it out, everything. And as of this January, we're SOC 2 Type 2 certified. And so there are a collection of those compliance frameworks you need to put in place. But beyond that, also, this AI thing is new. When it comes to a lot of enterprise concerns, they were mostly worried, are you going to give my data to the frontier labs to train their models? So no, we follow zero training policy. Whenever we sign contracts with OpenAI, Anthropic, and Google, we make sure that they promise to us they will never use our customers' data to train their models. And so it goes with zero data retention. A lot of these things, they're just coming out as we experiment through the entire AI movement. But it is important to I'd say both pay attention to what is already in place when it comes to compliance framework, security measures, but also what is new, right? Just follow the state of the art, the latest and the greatest practices. I think that is extremely important. We're all learning by doing.
Exactly, and going back to your point around the control plane, this is where I would say I encourage all of you all to ask your, especially security vendors, how do they build their products? Because to your point, you talk about zero, training data, right? We talk about actually, we have built our own confidential computing platform, which is, very hard technically thing to do, and not most companies, sort of don't undertake that because, we believe in that the sense that as an operator, we as 1Password shouldn't even see your credentials, and that is also a guarantee that we have, which is even if we are ever breached, which every company should prepare for that moment, we will never be able to even release your credentials to the hackers.
Yeah. Okay. To what Nancy just said, I'd say also, I'll be honest, for example, so 1Password has been around, and you guys being in the security world for a while, and you've been around the block, so you know a lot, but for us, we're honest, we're a new startup. So what do? We also leverage our good partners. For example, we built a strategic partnership with Microsoft Azure. Our entire tech stack is on top of Azure, and we leverage their enterprise-grade cloud to really host everything, from our super agent AI workspace to our Genspark.ai. That is what we can take advantage from the last generation of the infra technologies. I think that is also extremely important to have in place.
Okay, let's shift towards timelines. How long does it take to go from just experimenting with agents to actually having agents work for you effectively?
Well, I'll give you one example from my perspective. So we all know that OpenClaw came out at the beginning of this year toward the end of January, right? It really blew up and everybody was on their claw. But clearly not everybody is capable of buying a Mac Mini and then just set up Node.js scripts and then just start running it. So it was 5 weeks we released Genspark.ai. And now I talk to my Claw every day, like getting me daily briefings of my inbox. I stopped looking at my email inbox, just for all. Like I get the notifications from my Claw, like, hey, you should consider responding to this one, or just hey, you can ignore all the other 50 emails. So that's the world we're living in. It's in order of magnitude of days and weeks.
And Nancy, how long does it take for you or your companies to vet agents to make sure that they don't just go rogue?
Yeah, one of the things too, so today we actually have all 3 coding agents, Cursor, Claude Code, Codex, running in production. And I would say one of the things too is your agent is only as powerful as the connectors that you give your agents, right? So if you think about even, for example, putting together a PR, well, you need context from, let's say, roadmaps that you have in Notion. You probably also need context from the conversations that you're having in Slack, and of course, other documents in G Drive, for example. And so those are actually where we're putting most of our emphasis, which is if you think think about, well, just because you have access to G Drive doesn't mean that you should have access to all of the files in G Drive. And also, I think for most document authors within an organization, even if it's something sensitive, like let's say employee salary information, you might not be, for example, thinking about very granular ACLs on your files, right? Who can access, what organizations, what titles, right? And so there have been, for example, instances out in the wild where, let's say someone was able to query using Claude, someone else's salary information because it was on a file in G Drive without the right level of permissions. So that's where, as a security company, we want to practice what we preach, which is being, least privilege with our own agents running in production.
Okay, let's shift a little bit over to the future of work. So Wen, as you see software talking to software directly, how do you think the GUI will evolve, or will we not need GUIs anymore?
That's such an amazing question, Emil. So, so when ChatGPT just came out, we all had the impression, what is AI? AI is basically a chat box you go back and forth with, right? I mean, that was the start of it. Today, AI not only, GPT chats, Claude codes, but like for agentic platforms like Genspark, that we really do real work for you. So basically, we started with typing back and forth, prompting. But today, I just talked to my Genspark super agent or my Genspark Claude verbally. I would leave it a voice message, and then it'll just get the work going. So I would say the world is going toward a place where the way we interact with a human is going to be approaching how we interact with other human beings indefinitely. Like the most human way of getting communication is done like verbally, like typing is not natural, right? So we're seeing a lot of those changes, and eventually, I'd say what we're seeing is that we human beings, for the first time ever in the humanity's history, we finally have this opportunity to skip through all the busy work, to really just being able to command our AI agent to get onto the grunt work for us. We sit on the two ends of it. We tell the AI agent what we want, and then after the work is done, we tell the AI agent if we're satisfied with certain things or not. That is how the future of the work is going to be like, and with that, we believe, there is an opportunity for all of us to get elevated to the level of Jensen Huang or Jamie Dimon. You don't see Jamie Dimon typing hard to get a presentation done, right?
Or maybe he does. I don't know. I've seen demos from Ali at Databricks.
Right.
I feel like coming from the last generation of SaaS software, right? People would pay for essentially opinionated workflows, right? So if you think about companies like ServiceNow, other companies that have really built that at scale, that's really what folks would pay a premium for. Now, of course, with agents and MCP servers or even agents calling APIs directly, right? That opinionated workflow is now essentially driven by the model and the agent, whatever agent MD file that you have. Right? And so that's why, for example, I think of the agent as really the new client app, and also the value being in systems of records rather than opinionated workflows, which is why I think you've seen Salesforce come out with headless, right, 360, and probably other companies are going to follow suit as well.
Yeah.
It's funny that you actually mentioned agents calling APIs directly, because I think Perplexity was pushing that notion that they've actually started calling APIs directly more than using MCP. Are you guys seeing that as well at your companies?
Oh, well, I guess from a security perspective, having an MCP gateway essentially brings a single choke point. So you could, for example, inject secrets in there, which is one method that we have. But obviously, we're seeing both from our customers.
From our perspective, I'd say so. The world we used to live in, it was rather a tool-centric world. Each of us would have to learn, how to use 20, 30, 40 tools to essentially get the work done. What is happening now is, to what Nancy said, Salesforce is going headless. What that means is the infra or the technology built by Salesforce is still extremely valuable, but the users are different now. It's no longer for human beings. It's for AI. So what we're seeing is agentic platforms coming out as the new users for the software tools, for the infrastructures that we've built. And then, human beings, we only need to interact with one AI. That's how work can be done, and we no longer have to get certified for being good at Excel anymore. We can just, I don't have to learn how to code to essentially build out websites. That is where we are now.
Yeah, so actually, it's interesting as we talk about the future of work. So when generative AI first burst onto the scene, we would kind of measure the effectiveness by time saved, right? Oh, it took me this long to write this report or get this done. It actually takes me this much time now. As we move over to agents, and as software becomes a user, I'm curious, how are you measuring the effectiveness? So employee retention, purely business metrics, cognitive load? Like, how are you thinking through, as agents take over more and more tasks, how your company works and how your company, employees work?
It comes down to the money, I'd say. So I'll give you one example. One of our clients is a household name consulting firm. So they cater to big clients with hundreds of billions of dollars of market cap in the manufacturing business. They would help these folks to go through the digital transformation process by building software applications for them, like an order-to-cash system or so. In old times, they would have to take on the meeting notes from the clients, map out the whole process, do the design, and then go back and forth with their offshore developer center for 2 months. Start with the business requirement all the way down to prototype, and they would charge the client $250,000. Now, 5 people sitting in their Chicago office, 3 consultants, 2 analysts, going back and forth hard with Genspark for about 2 days. We have an AI developer, and what happens is they build out 3 prototypes. They start with the meeting notes, and they say, hey, Genspark, you figure this out. You put all of these things together and then turn it into a product requirement, a document for me. And then you turn it into designs of the whole workflows, and then you give me 3 versions of that. And then within a week, they would deliver 3 prototypes, all working prototypes to the clients. They charge the clients $100,000. Not $250K. They make a lot more off that because they probably paid us $500 for all tokens they've burnt. And at the same time, they skipped through the whole process of going back and forth with their offshore developer center, right? Like that is 2 months of waiting time before they can get into the production phase and then make the real dollars. Like $100,000 is nothing for them. But they wanted to get into the phase of making the real millions of dollars. And throughout this, it's not only just how the work is done. It's like how human beings are coordinating with each other, right? Like the whole, overhead of, coordinating with a whole team for 2 months is no longer needed. That is the fundamental shifts that we're seeing. You make more money, you beat your competitors left and right because you're charging a lot lower fee, but you're getting more business from your clients, and you get into the next steps a lot faster. And the net is you produce a lot more.
Okay, so Wen is measuring money in production. What are you measuring, Nancy?
Yeah, so maybe I'll give an engineering-centric answer, which is velocity, which ultimately is money, right?
Yeah.
The faster you can produce
time
features.
is money, yes.
Exactly, for customers, the sooner you get your products out there, the sooner customers procure, buy, right, make value out of those products, right? The also more money you make as a business. And so what we think internally too is we measure PR cycle time, so PR to merge times, also just how much faster we're shipping. And what we're seeing really this trickle-down effect into how engineering teams are planning sprints, for example. So it's no longer, hey, let me look at how long this entire project would take. Let me break it down to the sprints. Typical 2-week sprints. Now we're actually trying this new method in addition to, of course, the traditional methods of one-shotting producing features, right? Or creating prototypes that then we can figure out on the back end how to actually wire that into production systems. So it's really, I think, changing just the concept of you need a super experienced engineering manager to go in and look at, hey, how long would this take? Go assign tasks as you would traditional engineers. And I think that cycle time is going to bring a lot more dividends in terms of how many features you could deliver in 1 quarter to a customer, and also how fast you can iterate upon the features that you've delivered.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're reaching time, so just one last final question. We're moving from a world of managing humans to a world of managing humans and agents. Give one piece of advice, and keep it short because we're literally over time, for the audience. How should they start thinking about that world as it evolves?
I would say it's the mentality that AI is not perfect, but you have to embrace it to take advantage of it. So just jump on. Today, I pull myself back from the urge of just applying myself to every problem I need to solve. I let Genspark solve it for me first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Embrace it.
Yeah.
Nancy?
Well, I guess our mantra is agents work like humans, right? But they act at the speed of machines. And so this is where everyone talks about, hey, I want autonomous agents. I don't think they do. I think they want obedient interns with perfect memory and recall.
Okay, so embrace agents and think about them as obedient interns. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.